Greetings, Tezos Nation. Welcome to another edition of TezTalks Live. I'm Stu from the Tezos Commons. Joining me today is Claude Barde, Developer Relations Dynamo here in the Tezos ecosystem. On today's stream, we'll be giving away 25 Tez to one of our lucky viewers. If you'd like that lucky viewer to be you, keep an ear out for a keyword later on during this stream. Then comment with the keyword below this video where it's posted by the @Tezos Commons account on X. Hi, Claude. Where are you right now and how is the weather?
Hello. So still in London for the past 3 years. I've been here. The weather is nice. So yeah, we had like 20 degrees over the weekend, and all of a sudden it went back to 10 degrees. But yeah, today it's sunny, a little bit chilly, but sunny. Yeah.
Sounds like classic London weather.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, given that this is not your first appearance here on TezTalks Live, and we've already heard your backstory, why don't we get the ball rolling with a little intro into your role here in the Tezos ecosystem? What is it that you do exactly?
Yeah, so as the short suggests, I work at TrilliTech. So I'm a developer advocate at TrilliTech here in London. So as a developer advocate, I take care of multiple things. Maybe documentation or helping developers, testing new tools, or coming up with ideas for new tools, or collecting feedback about the developer experience on Tezos. So there are multiple things that I do as a developer, as a developer advocate. Sorry.
So I know you mentioned helping developers and collecting feedback from developers, but from a practical standpoint, can you walk us through what that process looks like in terms of your interactions with those developers a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So there are different channels to get feedback or to listen to developers. One of them is directly at TrilliTech. So we have a team of engineers and also web developers. So it's really interesting to work closely with them. So I can see what kind of problems they have when they are developing or working on Tezos. There are also hackathons. So this year I've already been to 2 of them, and that's also a very interesting place to collect feedback, because at that kind of event, you're going to have developers who are very new to the Tezos ecosystem. So they never used any tool that's available on Tezos. So it's very interesting to look at how they interact with those tools, and to see what kind of problems they have. Because there are some things that may be intuitive for me or for the developers at TrilliTech, but that are not intuitive at all for developers who come from other ecosystems. So hackathons are also an interesting place to collect feedback, and also, of course, from the internet. So we have, like, for example, the forms that we distribute in the ecosystem for developers to leave feedback. Or I also interact with developers on Discord, on Telegram, on Twitter, to answer questions, and that's also a very good place to collect feedback and to see what's working, what's not working, and what's lacking. What would be great to have in the ecosystem for the developer experience.
Perfect. So, why is bringing developers into the Tezos ecosystem so important?
Why? Because developers are the ones who build applications that people use. So developers bring users. So it's very important to bring developers, and not only to bring them, but also to make them stay on Tezos. So it's not enough to just bring developers and they build an app and after that they leave. Like, we want them to stay on Tezos, to continue building the applications that they work on, maybe build other applications. So fostering that kind of environment for developers is very important to have more applications, and then the final goal is to bring more users to use Tezos.
Absolutely. And I spoke to somebody about this the other day, that once they come into the ecosystem, once they become familiar with the tooling, once they become familiar with the community and how things work here, it becomes a more comfortable place for them, and that by itself encourages them to remain here and continue building here, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When they create an application and that they see that users are coming, that people are using it. Above all, on Tezos, we have a lot of people that are fans of the blockchain. So every time there's a new application on Tezos, they like to try it. So that motivates a lot of developers who are building on Tezos and who want to come and build on Tezos.
And to that end, I understand you've been working closely with the team at TrilliTech to roll out a new JavaScript integration for the Tezos blockchain. How much can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the project is still very, very new. So we are, I mean, the engineers at TrilliTech are working on a JavaScript smart rollup. So it's a rollup that has a kernel that's able to understand JavaScript. It's very interesting because there are hundreds of millions of developers that use JavaScript. So it's going to be easier to onboard them and to have them build on the rollup. Well, it's still the very beginning. I've been able to test it, so it looks very promising. At the moment, it's mostly running like writing smart contracts in JavaScript. So there's a special SDK that you have to use in order to create functions that can run as smart contracts. And then later, we hope that developers are going to come and create smart contracts and applications that use these smart contracts in the rollup.
So it sounds like we're still a little ways off from people being able to develop entirely in JavaScript.
Yeah. So it's the very beginning. I think that there's a little bit of documentation that was made public. At the moment, we're also waiting for developers who want to test it. So I tested it myself, so it's usable. You can. I'm not really sure that you can build like a big application with it, but you can play with the SDK and you can try it. So we're also looking for developer feedback about it. But that's true that it's still the beginning and there's still a lot of work to do on that.
Okay. And how does integrating coding languages like JavaScript make things easier for developers to build here?
Yeah, so it's easier because a lot of developers already know JavaScript. So when they come and they want to build an application on Tezos or another blockchain, they prefer using the languages that they know already. So it's a lot easier for them to come and just to learn the SDK that's available to build application and to build smart contracts in the rollup. So that's why using that kind of popular language is very interesting and very useful to bring more developers and have them build on Tezos.
Okay. I understand you'll be working closely with the engineers at TrilliTech to develop additional Tezos tooling for developers moving forward. Can you talk a bit about this sort of change in your role, what it will look like, and why you decided to focus your efforts in that area?
So I didn't decide it myself, but it was decided as a group, that it would be interesting to focus to have more of our focus on tooling because until now we focused a lot on creating content about Tezos, and so a lot of content has been created in the last year or so. We also collected a lot of feedback from developers. So me and the other developer advocates at TrilliTech, we are the front of that feedback and those exchanges with developers, so we know exactly what they need, what they were complaining about that's lacking in the ecosystem. So we decided that it would be more interesting if we could shift a little bit more on the engineering side and build more tooling and also help the developers that are building tooling to make sure that the tools are what the developers are looking for. So yeah, there's going to be a more focus on the tooling side. So that's pretty exciting. We're going to at the moment there was no decision that was made about what kind of tools we're going to build. We have some ideas, but we still have to decide on that. But there are some things that are lacking in the ecosystem that we would like to address.
And as you're doing that, will you still be a fixture at Tezos events and hackathons around the world like you have traditionally been?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So in addition to that, we're also going to continue making content and taking part in conferences and hackathons and that kind of things. So there's just one thing that we do as developer advocates, some helping with the tools. But of course, we continue taking part in conferences and hackathons and like helping developers build on Tezos. That's something that we are going to do all the time.
And you're obviously known for being an active presence at such events. Can you tell us what your goal is in attending all of those events from a developer relations perspective?
So in general, there are multiple goals. So it depends also on the kind of event that we attend. For an event like a conference, like a crypto conference, so the main goal would be like to have a Tezos presence because there are a lot of blockchains that send their developer advocate teams to conferences. So we feel like it would be good to have a Tezos presence, or that when people come to the conference, that they see that Tezos is present. It's also a great place to get in touch with developers. So there are a lot of developers that come and ask questions about Tezos, that they hear that we are building this and that, and so they have questions about the products that we have. So it's very interesting from that point of view to be able to answer questions and also to create a network with other developers regarding the Tezos blockchain in general. It's also very good to advertise products that we are building. So, for example, Etherlink. It's very good to go to Ethereum conferences where there are other L2s, other EVM L2s. So we can put Etherlink on the map at that kind of conferences. The other kind of event would be hackathons. So here the goals are a little bit different. So we are organizing and taking part in hackathons mostly to help developers. So first to help them understand the Tezos stack, know how it works, what they can do, what kind of tooling we have to build applications. Also make them understand why Tezos is better as a blockchain to build on compared to other blockchains. So that kind of help goes during the whole hackathon. So it can be, at the moment, we're running an online hackathon for a month. So we're providing help online about that. But I've been to hackathons for 2 or 3 days where you can interact directly with the developers. And as I mentioned before, another goal of hackathons is that you can collect feedback from developers. So it's very interesting to see them discover the Tezos stack with the documentation that we have. And so we can check what is working, what is not working, and then improve on that. So, like for example, at the moment, I've seen, the last hackathon, I received a a lot of positive feedback about the new documentation that we have online, so that it's clearer than the one that we had before. So that was a good feedback. But there are also some other things that don't work, and after the hackathon we can come back to TrilliTech and then have a talk and see how we can fix them.
Okay. And based on those conversations that you're describing with the developers at these events, what's your take on how Tezos and its ecosystem are perceived within the global developer community?
Yeah, so I think in general there's a good opinion about Tezos. Let's say a positive opinion. So people like developers or people from other ecosystems heard about Tezos in a positive way. So that's a good thing. I was also very surprised that I went to some events, and even people who were not really like crypto people heard about Tezos. Like a very good example is last year I went to Consensus in Austin, and there was a side event organized by Google. So I went there because we're also discussing a partnership with Google Cloud. So I went there, and they were giving away free T-shirts, like some free swag at the Google event. So there was a counter where you had to go and pick up the T-shirt, and I had a Tezos T-shirt, and I went there, and the guy recognized it and was, you're from Tezos. And I bought some NFTs, a couple of weeks ago or something. So yeah, there are like a lot of people who hear about Tezos, who use Tezos. So that's the kind of feedback that I get from that kind of event. So yeah, in general, the opinion about Tezos is very positive. We also have a great emphasis on the tech stack. So the Tezos stack is pretty famous in the blockchain space in general. So people come and they talk about the tech on Tezos. So yeah, I think in general the image of Tezos is pretty positive. Above all regarding the tech.
Okay. And what about those who have already decided to develop their projects here in the Tezos ecosystem? What's the feedback been like from the developers who are currently building on Tezos?
Yeah, so there are good things and things that need to be improved. So at the moment, the feedback. I mean, you saw that in the last weeks there were some projects that came to Tezos, like MetaPulse. So there are some applications. There are people building on Tezos. And I don't know if they got help from other teams, but I didn't really hear from them. So I guess that they managed to build everything by themselves without too much support. So that's a pretty good thing. So it means that the documentation is fine, that the tooling is okay. So at the moment, from the teams that are building on Tezos, I think the feedback is pretty positive. I've also reviewed some documentation that was written by a team who is developing a product for Tezos, and it was also very clear. And so they're using Takedo, and I mean they understood how it works, and I mean there was no issue. So I think in general, that side of the developer experience is good, and teams that are developing on Tezos at the moment don't as soon as they are used with the tech stack, yeah, there's no major problem.
Well, that's good news, right?
Yeah, I mean, just to be honest, like there's a little learning curve at the beginning because Tezos has a different tech stack. So I think that that's where the problems arise, because the developers are not really used to the tooling or to the way the blockchain works. But after that stage, when they are more familiar with how everything works, then I think everything goes smoothly and there's no issue.
And when that comes up, I suppose that's where people like you step in to
Hmm.
guide them along and explain how the tooling works, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When they need somebody to explain to them how it works, or like to guide them in how to use the tooling on Tezos. I mean, I have like 4 years of experience with Takedo, for example. So I used to work at Takedo. So yeah, I answer a lot of questions related to Takedo, and yeah, that's also something that we do at TrilliTech.
Okay. This is all great stuff so far. I'm excited to learn more. But before we dive into the nitty gritty, are you ready for the world famous TezTalks lightning round?
Yes, I'm ready.
Great. Just before we do that, I'd like to announce today's keyword for the 25 Tez we're giving away today. Today's keyword is !Claude. Enter the keyword !Claude in below this video on X, and Nightbot will randomly select today's winner, who will announce in the comments below this video on X as well. Okay, now, Claude, it is lightning round time. Remember, there are no wrong answers. This is just for fun so our viewers can get to know you a little bit better. Are you ready?
I am ready.
French cuisine or British cuisine?
Is that even a question? You would be surprised if I say British cuisine, no? I mean, okay, just to be fair, at the beginning when I was living in London, I didn't really like the food. Now there are some things that I learned, that I got used to, and I learned how to like. So, for example, like 2 weeks ago, I went for fish and chips. Okay, yeah, it's pretty good. But yeah, I would say French cuisine.
That's fair. But British cuisine is underrated, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, there's some things that are good. Yeah.
Exercise or naps?
So, yeah, I think exercise. So I never take naps, and I exercise almost every day. So yeah, I would say exercise.
Fair enough. Chicken or fish?
I would say chicken, but what if it's fried?
What is your favorite country to visit for a vacation?
I would say Turkey. I've been many times to Turkey. Also lived for a few months in Istanbul, and I visited different places. So it's that kind of country like France, where you can go to the sea, you can go to the mountains, you can like they have different landscapes, and people are very nice. The food is very good. So yeah, Turkey for vacation.
Very cool. If you were elected king of the world, what's the first thing you would do?
I would establish Tezos as the world currency.
What a great answer. Name one thing you will never do again.
um, Something I would never do again. Also, yeah, I like experimenting with food and trying new foods. And I used to live in Southeast Asia, and I ate bugs there. So like things like crickets were surprisingly good. But I tried some kind of water bug, and that was the worst thing I put in my mouth ever. So I would never do that again.
Okay, great answer. What's the secret to happiness?
Um, like a remote farm, with the Tezos baker. Yeah.
Sounds like a solid plan. Do you have any pets?
No, I don't have any pets.
No pets for Claude. And finally, what is your favorite thing to do on a rainy day?
Mm, I would say coding. That's the right time to write some code.
All right. Excellent answers. This concludes the TezTalks lightning round. Let's get back into it. There are a couple interesting developments underway in the Tezos ecosystem that I was hoping to get your thoughts on. The first one being Etherlink, which you mentioned earlier. Can you talk a bit about the significance of Etherlink from the perspective of attracting developers to the Tezos ecosystem?
Yeah, so um, I think the idea is to have people. So yeah, the idea is to have people to build on Etherlink, and because Etherlink is so connected to the L1, we those people. So first, they are going to use the Tezos stack for Etherlink. So there are some things that are still Etherlink is going to be connected to the L1. So there are some things that you have to do. So I think the general idea is to have people build on Etherlink, and at the same time discover why Etherlink is a better EVM L2, because it's linked to Tezos. So it's an opportunity to bring Ethereum developers into the Tezos ecosystem, and to show them that Etherlink is a better option than another EVM L2, because it is enshrined with the Tezos L1, and because it inherits a lot of the safety functionalities of Tezos. So that's something that would make them interested in at least seeing what they could build on the L1. And so I think one of the ideas of Etherlink is to bring that kind of developers to build on an EVM blockchain, and at the same time discover the Tezos L1 and see why it's better.
Which makes perfect sense. How do we market Etherlink to ensure that those developers that you're talking about understand what it represents and what it means for them?
I think there are two main things about Etherlink to market it to these developers. The first one is I lost my train of thought. Uh, the first one is to have applications that are built on Etherlink. So at the moment at TrilliTech, we are actively looking for companies that want to build on Etherlink to bring applications, and so it's also easier because a lot of them already have applications on other EVM blockchains. So the port of the application to Etherlink is pretty easy because it's the same dev stack. Yeah, I forgot the second thing that I wanted.
Okay, well, we can come back to it if it comes back to you.
Oh yeah, to market. Yeah, there was that thing about building applications, and yeah, and also I think one of the important things about Etherlink is the safety layer. So the difference between Etherlink is and another EVM L2 is that it inherits the safety functionalities of the communication between a smart rollup and the Tezos L1. With the smart rollup, you're not able to push any kind of new state to the L1. So there's a whole process, to verify that whatever the smart rollup sends back to the L1 is correct, which is not something that always exists on Ethereum with other L2s. So that kind of safety can be very interesting for different kind of applications and companies that would like to build on Etherlink. So I think those are the two things that are very interesting for companies that want to build on the EVM L2 on Tezos on Etherlink, is the applications that are going to be available, and also the safety layer that the smart rollup inherits from Tezos.
And you mentioned that you're actively looking for companies who are interested in bringing their projects to Etherlink.
Yeah.
If any of them happen to be watching this and they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
So you can find me on Telegram, Discord, Twitter. So my handle on all these platforms is always the same. It's Claude Barde. So it's possible to find me there. So I'm not the one dealing with that. So we have people at TrilliTech that are more knowledgeable of that part of the business. But I can, if you are interested, I can put you in touch with these people. So that's not a problem.
Fabulous. The other thing I wanted to make sure we touched on is the Paris B proposal. What are some of the key features of Paris B that we can look forward to seeing rolled out if the Tezos community votes to adopt Paris B?
Yeah, so there are different things in the proposal. So, like for example, adaptive issuance, also the DAL nodes that are going to be available. One of the things that, as a developer, I'm very excited about is the 10-second block time. So it's going to be even faster to send transactions and to bake transactions on Tezos. So those are things that are very important in the proposal.
Okay, you mentioned a couple of things there that, as a non-tech person, I would love to hear you explain. First off, what is
Mhm.
adaptive issuance?
So yeah, so I know it's technical, but it's not really my domain of technical. So I just have like a very high level of how that works. But at the moment, when the issuance of Tez on Tezos is hard coded in the protocol, so there's a fixed amount of Tez that's issued when bakers create new blocks. And with adaptive issuance, that number is going to be more flexible. So the idea is to have 50% of the amount of Tez in circulation staked on Tezos. The adaptive issuance means that the amount of new tests that are going to be created is going to be different according to the amount of tests that are staked at the moment. More or less tests are going to be minted according to the amount of tests that are staked. If that amount is greater than 50% or less than 50%, to incentivize people to stake their test. And
Okay.
so at the same time, there's going to be a new role that's going to be created on Tezos, so the role of staker. So at the moment, what you can do with your Tez, so if you are a baker, then you can lock them and you can use them to bake. Or if you are just a user, you can delegate the Tez to the baker. But now there's going to be a third role if the proposal goes through. That's going to be staker, where it's a little bit in the middle between a baker and a delegator, where you will be able to stake your Tez with the baker. So your Tez is going to be locked, and but you get more rewards and more participation um, in the consensus system on Tezos.
Interesting. And what is the data availability layer?
Yeah, so this one too, like that's a very technical one. So I tried it a little bit. I think it was in December when they were still working on it. So the idea is that when you just on a very high level explanation, the idea is that when a smart rollup communicates with the L1, there's a certain amount of data that can be exchanged because of the block size. And what a DAL node is going to do is going to increase that amount of data by putting it on a kind of network that runs next to the L1. So there's a whole system to verify that the data is correct and is available, and that data can be shared between different nodes. So just to make sure that it's available at all time, and then between the L1 and the smart rollup, they don't have to exchange the whole data. They can just exchange like references to the data, and that data is available somewhere else. So it's going to be to allow smart rollups and Etherlink to work with more data, and so to be more performant than they are at the moment.
Those were both great explanations. Thank you very much. Um, as somebody who is himself a developer, and as somebody who speaks to developers about their experiences in the Tezos ecosystem. What is the current state of the Tezos ecosystem in 2024 from a developer's perspective?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's true that there haven't been anything really new as a developer on Tezos, so no like breakthrough in tooling or developer experience. So that's also something that we are working on at the moment. So, for example, the JavaScript rollup is going to be something really interesting, and we're also building tooling around it to make the developing experience better. Of course, there are some tools that, for example, Taquito is always evolving alongside with the blockchain. So they added different things that appeared on Tezos. So, for example, now they have a package for time locks. So that kind of tooling always evolves with the blockchain. So yeah, at the moment there is a lot of work that's done, to improve the developer experience. Maybe one of the best examples for this year is that the release of the new documentation. So now we have a better documentation. We have somebody special at TrilliTech that works on that documentation daily to make it better. So the documentation improved a lot in the past 12 months since I joined TrilliTech. So yeah, there are things that are improving regarding the developer experience, but there are also a lot of things that we are working on at the moment. And yeah, this year there's going to be a lot of new things and a lot of improvements in the developer experience.
Okay. And what's your personal take on the Tezos ecosystem more generally and where it's currently at in terms of its sort of overall evolution?
Yeah, I've been in the ecosystem for more than 4 years already, so I saw a lot of changes. I have the feeling that at the moment maybe it's a little bit that there's not much happening, and it's probably because we don't have a lot of like big applications that bring users. So we saw, for example, when Object was created, and it brought a lot of users, and there was a lot of things happening in the ecosystem. I think at the moment it's a little bit quieter on that side, and that's why our job as developer advocates is also very important, because we have to help developers that are building on Tezos create that kind of applications. So yeah, I think, for example, I mentioned the MetaPause application that I think it's that kind of application is really interesting to bring more users and bring more traffic and have more people use Tezos. So yeah, maybe it's a little bit quiet at the moment, but I think it's the case on a lot of blockchains at the beginning of this year. So yeah, we keep, what we say on Tezos, we keep building. So
We do indeed. What about where Tezos and its ecosystem are headed? Obviously, as you mentioned a couple of things there, 2023 was an interesting year for Tezos. What do you see happening in the days ahead?
I think there's going to be a lot of focus on smart rollups, so on Etherlink, on the JavaScript smart rollup. So there are a lot of solutions that are worked on at the moment to make developers build on layer 2s on Tezos. I think it's good because it's going to be easier for them to like, for example, on Etherlink, it's going to be easier to build an EVM application if you already have all the code. It's the same thing for the JavaScript rollup. So I can see that there's a direction into layer 2s, but the idea is still that the layer 1 is the is the king. It's the part that that controls and that provides safety for all those layer twos. So I think this year we're going to see applications coming on Etherlink for sure. That's one of the directions, that I can see.
Very cool. And what's next for Claude Barde? Where should we expect to see you pop up next?
So yeah, at the moment there's no travel planned. So we are planning test dev at the moment. So yeah, I will be there
Okay.
for sure. But
That's in Belgium, right?
yes, yeah, it's going to be in Belgium. But outside of that, no, I don't think at the moment. Well, I'm always available in London. Like if you're in the Tezos ecosystem and you don't want to eat fish and chips, you can find me in London. Or if you want, I know some good places for fish and chips, so we can meet.
Sounds awesome. We could go on, but we're unfortunately almost at the end here. And before we close off, I'd like to remind our viewers that we're giving away 25 Tez today. To enter, just type the keyword !Claude into the comments below this video on X for those who miss out today. We remind you that there are awesome giveaways to be found frequently here on TezTalks Live, so keep tuning in. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our social media contacts can be found at tezoscommons.org/TezTalks, and we'd love to hear from you. Claude, thanks so much for joining us today. It's
Thank
always
you very
awesome.
much.
It's always awesome to speak to the folks helping onboard developers to the Tezos ecosystem and helping Tezos claim its rightful place at the forefront of the blockchain technology conversation. Is there anything else you'd like to mention before we sign off here?
No, not really. No, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in 2024 for Tezos. There are a lot of cool projects coming and cool technology. So yeah, let's see what's going to happen.
And we'll be here to watch them all, right?
Exactly.
To everyone out there in Tezos land, thanks for joining us on TezTalks Live. I'm Stu from the Tezos Commons, and our awesome guest has been Claude Barde. Now let's go vote on Paris B.